Some people even build their esteem on their ability to last in bed. I always tell people, like one of my teacher, Olakunle Shoriyo, will say, you cannot go to the bank and say you have, a big, manhood, or a beautiful breast, and then you go to the bank and say, because I have a beautiful breast or a big manhood, give me some money. I am still Michael Ogunshola, the peak performance strategist. What is self-esteem? Your self-esteem can be likened to a thermostat. You see, a thermostat is an object that we use to regulate the temperature of a house. What that means is your self-esteem will determine the behaviors you tolerate, the behaviors you accept or reject, the relationships you find you go into, the business you do, where you live, the life you live. Your self-esteem will go a long way in defining the outcome of your life. A self-esteem is the way you see yourself, your self-worth, how you perceive yourself. Do you perceive yourself as a person of value? Do you perceive yourself as a person of substance? Do you perceive yourself as someone that is worthy of association and interaction? The way you see yourself determines how people will see you. In this conversation, I want you to take note. When we're talking about self-esteem, there are three basic categories. There are two extremes, and there is the middle point of what every one of us should desire to have in terms of self-esteem. One of the extreme is the fact that there are people that have a high self-esteem. What is a high self-esteem? A high self-esteem basically is when you have superiority complex. You feel like you are better than everybody and everyone should be afraid of you, and you will see yourself bullying people because you have a high self-esteem. The another extreme is a low self-esteem. A low self-esteem will make you to have inferiority complex. An inferiority complex will not allow you to maximize your potential. It will allow you, to chicken out. When they are calling people, you will just always be hiding. And the other one is a healthy self-esteem. And that's actually my focus. My focus is, how do we cultivate a healthy self-esteem? How do we cultivate a healthy self-esteem? A healthy self-esteem, as I have defined earlier, is the kind of esteem that you don't see yourself as better than others, neither do you see yourself as less than others, but you have self-confidence. You believe in yourself, you believe in your capacity, and you can have conversation with anyone. Your self-worth doesn't come from your net worth, because there's a difference between self-worth and net worth. Net worth talks about what you possess. Self-worth talks about how you carry yourself and how you believe in yourself. I read from scriptures how an entire generation that God had made a vow to, that they were going to enjoy going into a land flowing with milk and honey, but because of their low self-esteem, they could not enter into it. And the challenge about self-esteem is, most of the time our self-esteem comes from our formative years. When you look at the scriptural reference I alluded to, the Israelites, they were raised in deprivation like many of us. They were raised under slavery. So they did not know how to own anything. And now God is telling them they are going into a land where they will be owners, whereby they themselves had been owned. And so their psyche had actually been altered. But the truth of the matter is, when God tells you something, you have a duty to work it out. they didn't work out the prophecy. Hence, they allow their low self-esteem to deprive them of God's promises. And the first thing you want to do to have a healthy self-esteem is you have to prioritize your emotional well-being and your mental health. What does that mean? You see, we live in a world where there are different kinds of energy. There is positive energy and there is negative energy. If you want to have your mental health intact, if you want to have a good emotional well-being, you want to cultivate a healthy self-esteem, you must prioritize your emotional well-being and mental health. Don't go to where people will just put you down or just tolerate your presence. No, don't go to where toxic environments, or even don't find yourself associated with toxic people. The truth of the matter is, whilst being born together might make us brothers by blood, that doesn't make us friends. You don't choose where you are born into, you don't choose who your parents are, who your family members are, but you choose who your friends are. And you have a duty to audit the associations and the energies you allow into your airspace. So when somebody is not vibing the way you are vibing, by all means avoid interactions with them. And so if you do not want to have drama in your life, don't go to environments where drama is present. Another way to cultivate a healthy self-esteem is don't build your worth or value on externals. You see, the life of a man does not consist in the things he possesses. Like the worth of a man cannot be gotten from the things you possess. What that means is, if you build your esteem on material things, when those material things go away, you will not have your confidence. Have you seen people that have cars and they are dangling their car keys in your face so that you should know that they are car owners? But the truth of the matter is, are they really car owner or the car owns them? You must avoid attachment. One of the highest level of measuring maturity is when you practice non-attachment. And don't let your esteem come from the car you drive, the house you live in, maybe the kind of girlfriend you have, for my single people out there, or the kind of boyfriend you have. There is even this funny thing that is making the round now. Some people even build their esteem on their ability to last in bed. I always tell people, like one of my teacher, Olakunle Shoriyo, will say, you cannot go to the bank and say you have, a big, manhood, or a beautiful breast, and then you go to the bank and say, because I have a beautiful breast or a big manhood, give me some money. The teller will look at you and say, excuse me, you need your ATM card or your checkbook to get some cash. And if you press further, they will call the security. And if you press further, they will take you to Yaba left. Well, that's the truth. And it's amazing how people pride themselves in their fine leg, in their fine face, in their fine this and fine that. When you see people, intimidating you by their iPhone and whatever, iPhone X, iPhone 11, iPhone whatever, those things are material things. Your value should be intrinsic, not extrinsic. You should not build your esteem around the house you live in, or the car you drive, or or status, or even your marriage. Another point in cultivating a healthy self-esteem is the fact that you must avoid the comparison trap. It seems to me that animals in this regard, they seem to have a clear-cut understanding of their uniqueness and difference. Have you noticed that the bird does not compete or compare itself with a fish? A fish can swim. It goes ahead to swim. When you put a fish in water, you see the genius. When you put a bird in the air, you see the genius. What that means is your genius is in your uniqueness, is in your originality. So don't be the kind of person that you say, oh, I'm short, he's tall, and then you feel insecure. Oh, I'm dark, it's fair, you feel insecure. Oh, he can sing, I cannot sing, you feel insecure. There is something you are good at that he and she is not good at. Because if you find yourself being caught in the comparison trap, you will always be given to peer pressure. You will always want to act like people you perceive are better than you. And they will always compel you to do things that you don't even want to do. Look at the tree. A mango tree does not compare itself with a coconut tree. Will you say that a coconut tree is not successful because it's just one tiny thing that goes up there and then the leaf is up there? On the other hand, is the mango tree that has leaves all over spread across branches. Will you say the mango tree is successful and the coconut tree is not? We know better. Plants know better. Humans should also know better. Don't compare yourself with other people, because there is something that is great about you. God has created you the way you are. He has a plan in mind and he has a purpose in mind.